and turn off your mobiles on. Put them on silent. Well, I'm going to hand over the mic to Mr. Peter.
Just to say how thrilled I am, and I'm sure that I am to be here back in the hall. My favourite city in the world, most ancient, glorious centre of civilization over millennia, and what a glorious thing it is to be at the Lahore Literary Festival, to be introducing Mr. Richard Heller, who's had one of the most distinguished literary figures on the London scene. Mr. Heller has been a scriptwriter in Hollywood. He's worked in the British Civil Service. He was a contemporary of Howard Marks at Balliol College, Oxford, and also of Chris Patton, much less distinguished. And indeed, Christopher Hitchens, the late Christopher Hitchens, and much more distinguished. Now, he's an author of many novels, many newspaper columns, many screenplays, and of course he's noted for his cricket novels. And he's an expert on the works of many authors. In fact, he was runner-up in Mastermind, his other minor, in about 1996. He's a distinguished cricketer in his own right, or was. But I'm now going to. He's particularly noted for his expertise in the work of the greatest British writer of the 20th century by some distance. There are some other imposters who claim that role, but actually everybody of any taste recognises that P.G. Wodehouse was by far and away the greatest master of English prose of the 20th century. So on which note, I'm going to pass over one master on the subject of another master.
Skip that. Thank you very much indeed, Peter. First of all, can everybody hear me at the back without the aid of the microphone? Because I like making gestures. I like making gestures and moving around, and it makes the microphone screech when you do that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to echo Peter's first remarks. It's a great pleasure to be here at this festival for the first time, which turns this wonderful city of Lahore into the cultural centre of the universe. It may seem a little incongruous to come here. It may seem a little incongruous to come here. Come to Pakistan, you would talk about P.G. Wodehouse. As many people think P.G. Wodehouse is a quintessentially an English writer. But my whole argument is that P.G. Wodehouse escapes from his English roots altogether, and he invents a fantasy world of his own creation. And that's a world which is equally accessible to readers in Pakistan and indeed in any country, or equally inaccessible. And Wodehouse himself recognised that that's what he did. At the very height of his powers, he wrote, "I believe there are two ways of writing successful novels. One is mine, making the thing frankly a fairy story and ignoring real life altogether. The other is going right deep down into life and not caring a damn." As well as P.G. Wodehouse, I want to touch on some other writers, British and Irish, who also made this journey into fantasy and brought into other media. They're all writers who went beyond conventional comedy and satire, and even beyond farce. And all their characters are sort of bound by the conventions of the real world. Sometimes they don't even have to obey its physical laws. But what all of these writers have in common with P.G. Wodehouse is the most tremendous sense of discipline. And it's this discipline, I'm going to argue, that makes fantasy comedy work. They don't just have characters doing funny things and saying funny things at random. everything their characters do flows from a kind of iron logic they establish at the beginning of the work and takes the reader with them. In conventional comedy, the real world is never very far away. And even in farce, where people do outrageous things. To give an example, how many people here have seen the episode called Gourmet Night in great television series 40 Towers? Give hands up if you remember Gourmet Night. About a third. The rest of you, 40 Towers is a great television series of the 70s in which John Cleese plays an incompetent an arrogant hotel proprietor. And in Gourmet Night, he's trying to get a better class of clientele for better class of clientele, but everything possible goes wrong, including the breakdown of his car. And this drives him to a paroxysm of rage in which he actually thrashes the car. Says something like, "I've warned you! I've warned you! I've said if you ever do this to me again, I'm going to give you the thrashing of your life!" I'm so excited, I've just broken my new phone. Now that's outrageous behaviour, but in fact that episode is very, very carefully constructed. And it's constructed from the real world of a very bad seaside hotel. The fantasy comedy works by setting up an alternative world in which a car thrashing scene doesn't need any further explanation. The characters in this world would sort of routinely treat their cars as animate beings. I mean, they might thrash them, but on another occasion they might plead with them, they might even pet them, because of the convention that they've established. And that's really where I think Wodehouse gets to in the end. I want to concentrate initially on four early novels of his, the ones about Smith with a P, the dandy Edwardian schoolboy, decides that his family name Smith is simply too ordinary. In the very first of these novels, Michael Smith is the most important sentence I think P.G. Wodehouse ever wrote. Smith meets the established hero, Mike, at Sedley Public School, to which they've been exiled for not working hard enough. And he asks Mike immediately, "Are you the bully, the pride of the school, or the boy who is led astray and takes to drink in chapter 16? And in that sentence, Wodehouse actually mocks the conventions of the school stories he'd been writing extremely successfully, in which he actually loved writing. It's a very powerful signal, that sentence, that he's going to move on. He's moving on to comedy and satire. And very quickly in this novel, Smith, the new character, takes charge of the narrative in place of the established Mike. Mike is by no means an uninteresting character. He's a brilliant cricketer and he's got quite a lot of unexpected depth. But against Smith, he's got absolutely no chance at all. Smith immediately signals a break with orthodoxy. Most obviously because he adds P in front of his name. He himself, the P is silent, it's in psalm. He addresses everyone as comrade and he proclaims himself as socialist. It's a great scheme, he says. You work for the equal distribution of property and start by collaring all you can and sitting on it. And actually, Smith is in my view, is a coffee house anarchist. And his whole mission is to subvert authority. He does this in this novel by patronising all the masters. In the conventional English school story, the visit to the headmaster's studies was a terrifying experience. But Smith sort of treats it as a social call when it happens to him, and he prepares a magnificent put-down for the headmaster at the very end. He says, "May I go now, sir? I'm in the middle of a singularly impressive passage of Cicero's speech De Senectute. I'm sorry that you should leave your preparation till Sunday, Smith. It is a habit of which I altogether disapprove. I am reading it, sir, said Smith with simple dignity, for pleasure. I tried that routine on my headmaster at school, but unfortunately, he was a Wodehouse lover. The next three Smith novels move further and further away from school in the year, and we have less and less Mike in them. He doesn't even share billing in the second one, the title of the second one, which is Smith in the City. Smith follows Mike into a dreary junior clerical job in a bank. It's quite an interesting novel because a lot of it could be a modern satire on the dreariness of his life. Smith spends most of his time trying to annoy the manager, Mr. Biggerstein, usually by haunting him at the gentleman's club, which they're both members. It's quite interesting from a literary point of view because Smith Wodehouse uses a technique he's going to use quite frequently with other more important characters, which is to refer to himself in the third person. Cry goes around the clubs. Smith is baffled. And then we come to Smith Journalist, which is one of my all-time favourites. Mike is absent most of the time in this one. They're both at Cambridge University by now, and they've both gone to New York. Mike's gone there to play on a cricket tour. Smith has gone there to give Wodehouse a novel. And it's one of Wodehouse's most realistic novels. Smith encounters a serious social problem, slum housing. He gets shot at by gangsters. Characteristically, he's more annoyed by the damage to his cat than by anything else. It's a realistic novel in that way, but also has, in my view, Wodehouse's first excursion into full-blown fantasy. And that's when Smith takes over a magazine which is quite excruciatingly dull. It's called Cozy Moments. And it was a satire on, there are a lot of magazines like that in this era, before the First World War, which are intended to provide safe reading for American families. But none has ever been as suffocatingly boring as Cozy Moments in this novel. Anyway, Smith turns this dreary magazine into a sort of muckraking scandal sheet, a bit of yellow journalism. He gives it a magnificent strapline. Cozy Moments will not be muzzled. Unlike the Daily Telegraph in the modern era. Mike has become an off-stage presence in the final novel, Leave It to Smith. The pair have left Cambridge, and Smith has briefly been forced to take up conventional employment, his uncle's wholesale fish business. This doesn't last very long, and Smith strikes up on his own with a very, very small, very, very long small ad. Smith will help you. Smith is ready for anything. Do you want someone to handle your business? Someone to take the dog for a run? Someone to assassinate your aunt? Smith will do it. Crime not objected to. Whatever job you have to offer, provided it has nothing to do with fish, leave it to Smith. Notice briefly that this advertisement anticipates one of Wodehouse's regular comic trips, from Boston in a very small space. It's usually done with telegrams. Wodehouse telegrams are enormous, and the use of arts as an enemy figure. The novel, this final novel, is much more complexly plotted than the previous three, but everything in this complex novel leads Smith, including falling in love instantly, to one of Wodehouse's great creation, Blanding's Castle. And we've readers have met Blanding's Castle briefly, its dreamy proprietor, Lord Emsworth, and his tyrannical sister Constance, and her ally, the appalling efficient Baxter. They've been met briefly in the novel called Something Fresh, but here they get a full treatment, and much more full treatment, and Wodehouse, in fact, is never going to leave them. the plots of P.G. Wodehouse, and they gather particularly around Blandings Castle, like sort of wasps on an abandoned piece of jam. Anyway, Smith is one of the imposters because he travels to Blandings impersonating a poet. And as the plot unfolds, he frustrates two other imposters, and he delivers Lord Emsworth from the appalling Lady Constance and the even more appalling efficient Baxter. And in the course of this, he unites all the sundered parts of the novel, including his own. And Smith's journey is now complete. He's moved from school story character to conventional comedy and satire. And now he's left in the fantasy world of Blandings. And at this point, Wodehouse abandons him altogether. And Blandings takes over. Blandings Castle and its characters appear again and again, because Wodehouse by now has discovered the possibility of imaginary worlds. From now on in, Wodehouse's great characters are rarely, if ever, in contact with contemporary life in Britain. Just note a very brief exception. During the 1930s, Wodehouse produced a superb satire on Britain's fascist leader, Sir Oswald Mosley. He turns Mosley's black shirts movement into the black shorts, led by a character called Sir Roderick Spoke. Roderick was always a menacing name in Wodehouse. Spoke can't afford black shirts, so he kicks his followers out as the black shorts. And a memorable scene, Bertie gives him a dressing down. Says, "What on earth do you mean by going around in footer bags?" Spoke, "Do you ever in your puff see such a perfect parachute?" But apart from this excursion into satire of Mosley, you really can read Wodehouse's greatest work and you can discover almost nothing about almost any major 20th century event. His characters, for example, have scarcely been touched by the Great War. And even though they contain many young men of military age, there's only one of them, Archie, M-U-F-F-A-M, pronounced Moom, to rhyme with Bluffing. He's the only one who's ever done any military service. All of Wodehouse's country houses have the same number of servants for comic possibilities as they did before the Great War. Now, there's a sprinkling of writers and artists and parsons in Wodehouse, but most of the characters have no occupation. Those in positions of authority, like Sir Roderick Glossop, the eminent psychiatric therapist, are all targets of mockery. Only Aunt Dahlia has any sort of regular occupation. As editor of Milady's Boudoir, publisher of Bertie's authoritative article on what the well-dressed man is wearing. But very quickly we can see that this is another fantasy magazine, along the lines of Cozy Moments, and so too is the infant's journal, Wee Tots, which is edited rather precariously by Bingo Little. Most of the action in Wodehouse's great novels happens in private places, not public ones, especially characters' homes, which might be grave estates or suburban villas or tumble-down cottages, and also clubs, and members' clubs. Wodehouse has a great incidental comic touch. He makes London's liveliest club, the Drones, share space in summer with London's stuffiest club, the Senior Conservative, where they throw bread at the sleeping regulars. And I can't help imagining a Drones evening here at the Punjab Club, in which members might throw poppadoms through the air like frisbees. But by cutting off his main characters from dreary reality, Wodehouse could let them rip on their personalities. And not just he gives them colourful and even extravagant dialogue and behaviours, He actually creates a world around them where new conventions are established and where all of their dialogue and behaviours become absolutely natural and predictable. And for example, in the Wodehouse world, the lateral relationships, like aunts and uncles, are always more important than parental ones. Aunts in particular are always dangerous. As Bertie puts it, it's no use telling me there are bad aunts and good aunts. At the core, they're all alike. Sooner or later, out pops the cloven hoof. Within the Wodehouse world, some characters exhibit clearly obsessional behaviours and are candidates for Sir Roderick Glossett's loony bin. Lord Emsworth is obsessed first by flowers, and then of course over his pig, the Empress of Blandings. Gussie Finknottle obsesses over newts. Uncle Tom obsesses over his silver. Bingo Little continually and obsessively ignores experience and uses his dreams as a reliable guide to betting on horses. Until he's safely wed to Rosie Ann Banks, he is also continually falling in love with waitresses. All of these behaviours aren't just sort of plot devices, though they are, but they're kind of fixed points in the Wodehouse world. And sustaining this fantasy world took a great deal of discipline. And Wodehouse's people always stay in character, and their relationships never change from novel to novel. So Lord Emsworth is always dreaming, he's always losing his pince-nez, and they always turn up at the end of his nose. He's always being harassed by assistants and by efficient secretaries. When Smith disappears, he's always being rescued from his secretaries by his brother Galahad or his equally raffish fellow Earl of Ickenham. Bertie and his chums are always in some kind of soup, and they're always delivered by the omniscient and imperturbable Jeeves. Bertie will always yield to Jeeves after fierce initial skirmishes on matters of clothing. And finally, Uckridge will always try and make money from seedy schemes, and he'll always fail. Wodehouse girls are quite an interesting study. Some of them are just ciphers. They're just sort of sundered hearts to be reconnected with equally characterless men. But the girls who regularly pursue Bertie all fall into three extreme types. They're either impossibly suppy, Adeline Bassett, impossibly intellectual, Honoria Glossop, Florence Crane, or impossibly mischievous, Stiffy Bing, Pauline Stoker, Bobby Wickham. Just occasionally, though, Wodehouse relaxes his iron discipline. And one example was a charming story called Lord Emsworth and the Girlfriend, which has real emotional depth to it. Lord Emsworth befriends a small girl from the working classes of London who was on a brief visit to Blandings, and she inspires him to face down his stubborn Scots head gardener, and even to face down his demanding sister Constance. Lord Emsworth is inspired to remember his ancestors who fought at Crecy and Poitiers and even Waterloo, and he stands up to these terrifying people for virtually the only time in his life. Now, Wodehouse is such a great stylist, he actually gets away with the extraordinary contradictions in Bertie Wooster. Now, he's got a place in the imaginary world, which basically is that of a silly ass, a perpetual silly ass. But at one point, Jeeves describes his young master as mentally negligible. But Bertie is nearly always his own narrator, and he turns out to be a startlingly good writer. He regularly uses colourful metaphors. Unchain the bacon and eggs, Jeeves. He employs inventive literary devices, especially referring to himself in the third person, referring to things by their initials. I took a deep draught of the B&S. He's a master of the literary figure of speech, hypallage or transferred epithet. I lit a thoughtful cigarette. Bertie's only academic distinction is a prize at primary school from but he uses many literary and historic allusions, and foreign languages, and even legal technicalities. Aunt Dahlia, he says at one point, Aunt Dahlia, I must enter a firm noli prosequi. And apart from this, these purely stylistic traits, Bertie is superb at the basic skills of narrative construction, characterization, dialogue, setting. He's got them all to a T. Wodehouse created a fantasy world this way, but compared to the other writers I'm going to mention, he's very conservative in his use of fantasy. For example, there's a lot of crime in Wodehouse: hostas, thefts of silver, manuscripts, police helmets, kidnappings of pigs and children. But nobody's going to get seriously hurt. And other fantasy humorists, which I'm going to come on to, deal in much darker crimes, including rape and murder. Wodehouse uses a lot of literary tricks, but nearly always in narration, including Bertie's, rather than in character dialogue. Other writers use jokes and tricks and parody at will. Wodehouse's characters and plots obey the basic laws of physics and time. Some of my other writers feel free to ignore them. And yet, all of these other writers, like Wodehouse, have a great iron sense of discipline. And their wildest fantasies don't sort of happen out of the blue. They're prepared and they flow from a very strong, mad logic, following a premise to a demented, but nonetheless sustainable conclusion. My first example of this is J.B. Morgan. He's a prolific writer of serious fiction and works of French history. How many people here familiar with A.G. MacDonald's satirical novel, England, Their England, which is a famous cricket match in not many. He appears in that. J.B. Morgan, he's an eccentric francophile, Mr. Huggins, calls himself Couchard. He meets the hero and immediately asks him, do you prefer crocodile or suede for foghorn containers? Morgan was best known as Beachcomber, creator of the By the Way column in the Daily Express. It was an extremely erudite column, but it ran for over 50 years in a popular newspaper. He was never asked to dumb it down until the day they fired him. Beachcomber's column was sort of reliably absurd on any given day, and it was stuffed with sort of parody and throwaway jokes. For example, not many of our old families can boast that a Savile Row tailor calls four times a year at their country estates to measure the scarecrows in the fields for new suits. But very importantly, Beachcomber created a running cast of characters with consistently absurd behaviours. To name only a few is Captain Fool Enough, the amorous confidence man who's constantly pressing unwelcome attentions on the lovely Vita Brevis. Beachcomber is very good at names, comic names. There's also a Russian ballerina called Tumble Over, and an Italian opera singer, Rusty Gutsy. He takes a delayed revenge on his hated public school, Harrow, with a headmaster called Dr. Smart Alec, who's headmaster of Narkover Academy. He trains pupils to be card sharps and petty criminals. Smart Alec's motto is, money talks and we are always listening. Dr. Strabismus is another character. Dr. Strabismus, whom God preserve, is a mad scientist of Utrecht. He has a spate of mad inventions, including one called brace rot. It's a chemical that stops invading armies dead in their tracks by attacking their braces and making their trousers fall down. And when all of this absurdity is getting out of hand, Beachcomber has the column interrupted by a very tiresome, pedantic person called Prod Nose. Beachcomber's big creation was Judge Cotton Carrot, and absurd judges and absurd criminal trials come up very frequently in fantasy humour, possibly because the law itself in any country is so full of arcane language and procedures partly also because so many real-life judges, at least in Britain, given their own private theatre to dominate, make regular asses of themselves. Poor old Cobblecarrot and Beachcomber has to try a fiendishly complex an obscure case involving 12 red-bearded dwarves. He gets tired of this incredibly complex case, and he ends the proceedings by actually burning down his courtroom. But unfortunately, he then is sent to try an equally fiendish case involving Hungarian lighthouses and rocking horses. On very similar lines, there was a contemporary column in the Irish Times by Miles Navid, who was also known as the novelist Flann O'Brien, and known in what might be called real life as a respectable civil servant, Brian Rowland. And that column had a lot of comic judges too, particularly the Christine Court voluntary jurisdiction, which is based on a great piece of circular logic. It recognises only those statutes which are recognisable for purposes of this court. It's presided over by Judge Twinfeet, who is a man who detests Latin, but he's a stickler for punctuation and the correct use of legal cliché. And he interrupts cases repeatedly to demand a cup of tea, or the use and the repair of his portable foot eater, as suffers from chilblains, poor chap. Miles, as a columnist, is always trying to think of schemes to make money. And one of them is a very ingenious one. He offers to provide an escort service of cultured ventriloquists to supply sparkling dialogue to people who are too nervous to open their mouths at great cultural events like the Lahore Literary Festival. And you see them, in the audience here, there are people sort of shrieking in the background. Well, the trained ventriloquists, they can sustain the most tremendous sparkling dialogue. Unfortunately, in Miles's column, it goes horribly, logically wrong, because the escorts start blackmailing their clients. Slip us £5, otherwise I'm going to make an idiot of you or something. At the Lahore Literary Festival. So they have to pay up and the whole scheme collapses. As Flann O'Brien, he produced two great fantasy comic novels, which I'll touch on very briefly. Actually, how many of you are familiar with them already? How many of you are familiar with the incredible, fiendish, multi-layered plots of At Swim Two Birds? Anybody? Too many. Check it out. This is a remarkable novel with multiple narrators. The sort of head narrator is an idle student who's creating a story about a novelist called Dermot Trellis. Dermot Trellis normally produces cowboy fiction, but for a change, Trellis has decided to write an epic novel instead, which is to include the legendary Irish hero Finn McCool, and an urbane devil, a puka, and an invisible good fairy. But unfortunately, Trellis's main characters actually revolt against him while he's asleep, and they substitute their own novel instead of the one he's writing. And one consequence of this is that there are long passages of epic Irish ancient poetry by Finn McCool, which go on for pages and pages, so I'm not going to quote any of them. You go on and on and on about greenness and this, this and the other. But they're constantly interrupted by verses from a working class poet called Jem Casey, who's written an enormous poem in praise of beer, which I'll just give you one verse. When things go wrong and will not come right, though you do the best you can, when life looks black as the hour of night, a pint of plain is your only man. You wrote another great novel, called in At Swim Two Birds, you've got loads of narrative going on at different levels, and you've got characters just walking as they choose, almost from one narrative to another, and at times, just as I've said, revolting against the narrator in charge. But in all of this, there's a great deal of logic and discipline behind it, and the student who's up there at the top, controlling it all, occasionally helps you out as a reader by sort of holding up a scorecard of what's going on. He also is very pleased when any of the characters below him use an interesting figure of speech. He sort of stops the narrative and fingers the figure of speech. He wrote also another much darker novel, Flann O'Brien, called The Third Policeman. It opens with a murder. The narrator is a student of a mad philosopher and inventor called de Selby. And I can't resist describing one of de Selby's inventions, because it has such a great use of mad logic. De Selby realizes that when you look in a mirror, the image in the mirror of your face is just fractionally older than your real face, because the light takes an infinitesimal amount of time to get to you, light from the mirror. And if you put another mirror behind, in front of the first mirror, the second mirror to reflect that, the second mirror's face will be just marginally older than the first mirror, and so on. So de Selby constructs an enormous mansion full of mirrors, each progressively reflecting younger and younger versions of his face. And in the final mirror, he sees himself again as a 12-year-old boy. Further progress, in O'Brien's word, further progress being limited by the curvature of the earth. And another recurring theme in this novel is Irish policemen turning into bicycles and vice versa. And this has got a very logical scientific cause. The Irish police spend so much time on bicycles that they're constantly exchanging atoms, the point of contact with the bicycle. So that there comes a crossover point when the policemen are more than 51% bicycles, and the bicycles are 51% policemen. At the end of this novel, readers finally discover that the hero's been dead all along, like the William Holden character in Sunset Boulevard. O'Brien was especially pleased with this, he said, because when you're writing about the world of the dead and the damned, when none of the rules and laws, even the law of gravity, hold good, there is any amount of scope for backchat and funny cracks. So Beachcomber and Marks of Oppeline brought absurdity and fantasy to newspapers, and two great series which I'm going to touch on brought into radio. How many here are familiar with ITMA, the radio series that helped Britain win the Second World War? Few. ITMA was short for It's That Man Again. The man, that was a headline used in the 30s about Hitler, but in the radio series, the man was an established northern comedian called Tommy Hanley. He uses his real name in the series, and Mr. Hanley occupies various sort of fantasy positions of authority during the series, including, most notably, Minister of Aggravation and Ministries, Minister of Aggravation and Mysteries at the Office of Twerps, and later he becomes Mayor of the seaside resort of Foaming at the Mouth. He had a very large supporting cast, and a lot of their catchphrases are still in use in Britain. There's an alcoholic officer called Colonel Chinstrap, who accepts any drink with the words, "I don't mind if I do." There are two very courteous moving men. "After you, Claude." "No, after you, sir." "No, after you, Claude." "After you, sir." But my favourite is a depressed laundress called Mona Watt, who says, "It's been so cheerful as keeps me going." Confirming this sort of fantasy element, there was a German spy called Funft with feet of sauerkraut. He never gets caught. And Hanley actually appointed an enemy alien, an Italian, Signor Soso, as his foreign secretary. And Signor Soso accepts with the words, "Mr. Handpump, I am diluted." The writer of this great series, and only had one writer, great, there's a genius in my view called Ted Kavanagh, and he calculated that he needed a laugh every 11 seconds, which gives him sort of no time to build jokes, but he still managed to preserve the integrity of the characters. And that's what holds it together. The series was equally successful in the post-war years until Hanley suddenly died. And I think that, to give a little historical background, in the years of Hitler, Britain was very, very tightly controlled, both during the war and in the post-war period, very tightly controlled and regulated. And I think listeners were especially ready to respond to an anarchic comedy which broke rules, particularly one led by Hanley, who was kind of lord of misrule. As mayor, here he is announcing his post-war plans for foaming at the mouth. Loosen the green belt, tuck in the blueprints, and paint the town red. The Goon Show was another great series, radio series. It kept Britain awake during the 50s. A generation of children, including me and Prince Charles, listened to it secretly in bed. Like Itma, it had a sort of permanent cast of characters, and they were rather weirder. There was a gullible hero, Neddy Seagoon, fatuous boy scout, or Blue Bottle, who was constantly meeting violent death, like the much later Kenny in South Park. It has a cowardly villain, Major Dennis Bloodknock. There's a caddish villain called Hercules Grit-Pipe Thin. There's a snivelling foreign villain called Count Jim Moriarty. And all of these have their catchphrases too, and it's business. And they're still constantly used by people of my age, especially Grit-Pipe Thin's regular put down, "You silly twisted boy, you." Eccles is a very stupid character indeed, and so regularly that he joins the rest of the cast in saying, "Shut up, Eccles!" And Blue Bottle regularly reads out his own stage directions. Enter Blue Bottle, waits for applause, not a sausage. And all of these ensemble characters give the fantasy a great deal of logic and consistency. Like it, there's a very, very rapid flow of jokes, and they're grafted onto a ludicrous plotline. Boom jokes tend to be a little more philosophical. For example, Seagoon finds Eccles in a coal cellar and says, "What are you doing here?" And Eccles replies, "Everybody's got to be somewhere." I'll just very quickly touch on Peter Cook, who's a great fantasy, great master of fantasy humour. Cook became famous for impersonating Prime Minister Harold Macmillan, but his real creations, the ones he really liked, were mad figures with names like Sir Basil Nardley Stones, Sir Arthur Strebe Griebling, and an untitled character called E.L. Whisty. E.L. Whisty is a monomaniac aiming for world domination. And he's studying very deeply a book called The Universe and All That Surrounds It. Cook was absolutely fascinated by judges. And in one of his great riffs, Whisty muses on his failure to become one. "I could have become a judge, but I never had the Latin. Never had the Latin for the judging. I just never had sufficient of it to get through the rigorous judging exams. They're noted for their rigour. People come staggering out saying, 'My God, what a rigorous exam.' So I became a coal miner instead. I managed to get through the mining exams. They're not very rigorous. They only ask one question. They say, 'Who are you?' And I got 75%. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I must close. These are some people who created fantasy humour, led by P.G. Wodehouse. The biggest tribute to them I pay is to say that when I made my own effort at eccentric humour, my life of the mad literary genius Luke Upwood, the David Gower of English literature, I stole from every single one.
blissful, Richard. I only brought you to a close because we've really got just over 10 more minutes, and I quite wanted to involve. I thought it'd be great to involve the. I just one little thing on Smith's subverting authority reminds me of the true story of a friend of mine called Charlie Edgerton, who is a racing trainer in England and weighs about 25 stone now. But he's quite a good racer, very good racing trainer, and when he was a young man, he was at Eton. It's rather sort of less grand version of Aitchson's College. And he got a very large overdraft going, and he was called in to see his bank manager. And the bank manager called him into the bank. He said, "Sit down." Charlie sat down. And he said to him, "Do you realise, Edgerton, that your overdraft is larger than my salary?" And Charlie looked at him for a bit and said, "Have you ever thought of changing jobs?" Anyway, would anybody like to, I've got questions, but would anybody like to ask a question of Mr. Heller? Please.
I wondered what you might have thought of people who tried to imitate Wodehouse, but using same characters. You've got Sebastian Fox's Jeeves and Wedding Wells, and you've got Norman Murphy's Daddy's Reminiscence. How do you think that works? Does it work for you?
It does. I think Sebastian Faulks had a very, very good shot at it, but somehow it's just, quite how to put it, it's just not quite the master. You know, you're sort of aware it's not quite the master. Wodehouse wrote, just once described his writing technique as being a series of spasms. But actually, he polished and revised incessantly after the initial spasm. And the narrative, the characterizations, the phraseology just flows so effortlessly that when he does it, it's absolutely bang on right, and when the imitators do it, however well they do it, it's just somebody imitating Wodehouse, isn't it? Sorry.
The young lady mentioned about this book by Sebastian Fox, Jeeves and the Wedding Bells. I was pretty excited when I started reading it, but after a chapter or two, it just couldn't go ahead. You were expecting Wodehouse, and there was nothing close to Wodehouse. Obviously, he was trying to make closure of the Bertie Wooster Jeeves story in the end, which I, of course, would not relate, but it was grossly disappointing.
Different responses to it. Cobbs is saying that in a novel of mine, a character, a novelist, writes a series of Bertie Wooster murder mysteries, beginning with the title "Who Killed Aunt Agatha?" I'm intended to write these myself, but the premise, I was quite pleased with this, the premise is that Bertie is the detective, not Jeeves, as you might expect. Bertie uses Jeeves' methods in studying the psychology of the individual. And like all detective stories, the place actually gets rather littered with corpses before the great detective sort of realizes who the villain is. But I haven't got around to that yet. And that would at least, I think possibly what I'm saying is that if you try and write a pure recreation of Wodehouse, you're likely to fail. But perhaps, if you just sort of take his characters and shift them a little bit to another context, you're still aware that they're Wodehouse characters, but they're actually in a different sort of fantasy world. Maybe it would work.
That probably would work, but as Mr. Fox did perform, and of course,
You can do it here.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
Yes, lady.
Sorry, you had one earlier. Yeah.
You spoke a lot about the British context of his novels, but there's also quite a considerable American context. You know, he brings in American millionaires, and some of his novels are set in America. Do you have any comments to make on that?
That's a very good point. But I think some of the early novels are quite realistically American. You can recognize the milieu. But as you get on to his great works, I think it seems to be the Americans are as much of a fantasy America as Britain is a fantasy Britain. Yes.
Yeah, this is kind of a complex question, but basically, you keep talking about this discipline in writing that you build the characters and the jokes, and they're actually built discipline. But whenever I read when I started reading them when I was very young, I actually found them written as if it had been written by a mad person. So I'm curious because, for example, when I read Evelyn Waugh, I can actually see him building his characters. Like they make sense to me in a way, but it does. I don't have the same feeling when I read Wodehouse. So how did you get to that point? Where you see this? Is it just you, or like is it because you studied it for so long? Do you think?
That's a very good question. It's about responses. Waugh's novels are set in the real world, pretty much. So sort of you know more. You actually sort of know more about his characters. You know, they're set in a rather sort of small sample of the real world. You actually kind of know where they're coming from. Wodehouse, I think I said right at the beginning, you've got to be ready to accept that they're living in a sort of universe of their own.
Yeah.
And once you do that, it seems to me and I thought, I don't know, I came to Wodehouse at age 10 because I was set in as a punishment. I was given one of it was the best punishment I ever had.
Can I make a clever point? Ward actually starts off as a fantasy writer.
That's very true.
Decline and fall and wild bodies.
Yeah.
That's
And then he becomes more and more realistic.
Yeah.
Whereas Wodehouse does exactly the opposite. He starts off as a realistic writer and becomes more and more fantastic.
Yeah.
Any more? I want to ask a question actually. Sorry, I did. I was there at the back of that.
Yes, I'd like to ask a question about the controversy surrounding Wodehouse and his broadcast for Nazi Germany. And what I'd like to know is that, seeing as how he was finally knighted in 1975, why did it take so long for Britain to forgive him?
There was a very persistent newspaper campaign against him for quite a long time, which lasted until went through the post-war as well. There was a certain, not just the broadcast, but one or two other issues were taken against him as well. In South America, avoided British taxes, one or two other issues were thrown against him. Why did it take so long? British establishment, I've got no better answer than saying the British establishment can be very vindictive when it chooses to be, when it gets an idea in its head. And one factor in eventually getting Wodehouse as knighthood was Queen Mother. Queen Mother was very big, the late Queen Mother was a very big advocate of PG. She was a very determined woman, and I think, behind the scenes, she did a lot of work overcoming resistance in Whitehall.
Another question. Can I just come, I think we're more or less over time now, but what do you mean a bit cruel on Aunt Dahlia? I always regarded her as you've portrayed all of Wodehouse's aunts as basically enemy figures, but Aunt Dahlia surely is quite a benign, kind person.
She is, but she's regularly sort of exploits Bertie. She's regularly against Bertie. She summons Bertie by long telegrams. She gets Bertie to do, Bertie is obliged to do terrible things to be wriggles out, like addressing Market Snodsbury Grammar School. He only escapes from that by palming off Gussie Finnovel in his place. Aunt Dahlia makes him steal silver cow creamers. She's a benign aunt, but she's a pretty demanding one.
Well, on which note, I just must say I thought that was absolutely wonderful. And you all, and Richard and I just love being here with it again. So thank you very much. And